to get right to some key messages. When I leave the room here, I want to be connected with everybody who wants to be connected with me for the purpose of success in our community and safety in our community. As far as I'm concerned, we need all eyes and ears on deck in real life, and we need all eyes and ears on deck in social media. And a lot of people will hear the word social media and they'll turn around and they'll head for the doors. Please don't. It's not hard. It's very easy. And by the end of this presentation, I hope that you're going to see what I see as a first off, a human being. Secondly, as a parent and a father, a husband. Thirdly, as a police officer. And fourthly, as somebody who works with youth on a regular basis. If you can get into my head and we can go together, we can make a huge difference with this strategy. This is the Toronto Police website. I work at Toronto Police Corporate Communications at 40 College Street, which is Toronto Police headquarters. And if you're to click this video right here, one of the reasons why I'm late is because we were doing this video. And this video is actually on our Toronto Police YouTube account. If you click this little button right here that says YouTube, it'll go to that video right there. And what you'll see is what was just happening at, I don't think I have volume, you guys. No volume for some reason. But there is volume on there. And as this camera kind of pans around here, you'll see it's the Toronto Police lobby. And what it's going to come around to is a choir from a school that's actually singing for a Remembrance Day ceremony. And that was all live streamed using a webcam that was attached to this microphone stand here. And it was put into a laptop. And it was live streamed on Google Plus that went right to YouTube and went right to the front page of the Toronto Police website. The great thing about it is that broadcast was watched live by our officers over in Afghanistan, in Haiti, and other parts of in the world, and it was like they were there. The ones that couldn't see it because they were actually engaged in duty or they were sleeping, will see it later because it's all archived on there. All the kids that came from that choir all left connected with us in social media, and they left inspired. They learned a lot from the veterans that were there. They probably had their eyes open about what the police were all really about. They did an amazing job, and they're going to go home and they're going to watch that YouTube video, and they're going to share it with their friends and be proud. That's the success. Inside that video, there's going to be safety messages, whether it be in text. Hey, this is how you call the police. It's really simple. There's a non-emergency number and a 911 number. Here's how you anonymously contact Crime Stoppers. On the phone, 1-800-222-8477, 1-800-222-TIPS, anywhere in North America for that matter. You can go online, anybody's Crime Stoppers website. You can text message a Crime Stoppers tip. In Toronto, it's text TOR and your message to 274637. You can use an app to get anonymous Crime Stoppers in. You can even go to the Facebook page and leave an anonymous tip on a Facebook page, anybody's Facebook page for that matter, simply by going to the page. And if you've got the Leave a Tip app installed, you can get right into the Crime Stoppers anonymous program from around the world. And as we scroll down here, you'll see that choir right there. And you'll see that 8 people have already liked that picture. You'll see right here that there's a link to go to that very video saying thank you. There's our police chief. And these are the 4 or 5 auxiliary police officers that were standing helping direct traffic outside this morning to help get all the veterans in and out. Just normal, everyday people that 78 people have already hit the like button on. So everybody's kind of coming to celebrate success. This is a veteran here. The picture's been shared quite a bit. It's been liked quite a bit. And that veteran there had every medal known to mankind that he was wearing. A true hero, and these kids came face to face with this man, and now because of social media, I'm able to tell all you about it. The good thing about it is where they're going to look at this you can just hit the Leave a Tip tab, and it'll go right into being able to leave an anonymous Crime Stoppers tip in English, in French, and in Spanish, anywhere where the back-end system is hooked up. And if you click on the English tab of that, that includes here in Peel region. If you're to go down like this, USA, Antigua, Barbados, Belize, Bermuda, British Virgin Islands, Canada, Cayman Islands, El Salvador, Guam, Jamaica, Saipan, St. Kitts is our newest member, Sweden, Trinidad and Tobago, Turks and Caicos, United States of America, and the Virgin Islands. So let's click Canada. Well, right here we're in Ontario. We're going to go down here to cities and towns, and as you hit the drop-down menu, it's going to have all the cities and towns that have a community-led Crime Stoppers program in partnership with the local police and the local media to help stop, prevent, and solve crime together. And you can go down and find Peel on here. And I was just on the phone with your Peel coordinator, Sergeant Iris Johnson, yesterday, hooking her up with the Dufferin Catholic School Board people that had read an article about this whole success and safety strategy from 2008 that Mark Bodakowski wrote in the Toronto Sun. And it's basically, she said, I'm calling you, Scott, because you said that the Toronto District School Board screwed it up. And I said, well, did I really say that in the newspaper? She says, well, I can read between the lines. You weren't very happy. And I said, we already have a Crime Stoppers system for anonymous tips. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have the anonymity protection of the Supreme Court of Canada with Crime Stoppers tips since 1997 because of the Liepert decision in Canada. And we've actually stopped terrorist attacks at LAX airport because of anonymous tips we received here in Canada, and we're able to action them through our back-end law enforcement networks to actually stop the terrorist attack before it happened. And then the President of the United States tried to get the information, George Bush at the time, couldn't get the information as to who the identity informant was because it was protected by informer privilege in Canada, plus our back-end system scraps all that data anyway, and we don't even have it. So we can stop a terrorist attack with this type of stuff, yet our own school boards are going to go create their own tip line that goes to an answering machine that doesn't work 24/7 and doesn't all on the weekend and doesn't have the anonymity protection of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not up here bashing anybody. This is all about education, and this is a crime prevention seminar, but I'm just telling you that that's the state of now. Somebody here in Peel region read an article written in 2008 and made a phone call. And every single person sitting in this room can pick up the phone and make a phone call and work collaboratively with our community partners that are already in existence and not reinvent wheels. So it's great to see police officers sitting here. I'm sure there's school officials here. I'm sure there's community groups here. There's room for everybody in this strategy. And regardless if you've got this Leave a Tip tab on your law enforcement page, Facebook page, or your school page, or your community real estate agent page, your local business improvement association page, the Polar Bear Dip, a special event, whatever it is, if you put that tab in and put some success and safety messaging with it, you're going to teach people that Crime Stoppers exists and an anonymous tip can save somebody's life. That's where I want to kind of end it at. You can have it too about the whole Crime Stoppers thing. There's Peel and there's Toronto. So if you click Peel, it goes to Peel. If you click Toronto, it goes to Toronto. It gives you a form. You just can fill out the form. I like telling people just skip down to the meat of it right here where it says description. Tell us what's on your mind. It says type of an offense. This is the one I love, is the whole, if you look down, bullying school-aged kids. That information, if you track that category, would be designated to the school resource officers, or in Peel here, the neighborhood policing unit officers, that actually have really good relationships with our school officials who can actually do the intervention with not the goal of throwing somebody in handcuffs and dragging them out of the school and putting them in jail, but solving the problem, maybe even stopping somebody from committing suicide. And not just dealing with the victim, but dealing with the offender so that they become a productive human being. And they have the least intervention possible needed to actually become a productive human being early in life. Does that make sense? So that's why I like calling it success and safety. Success and safety using social media. And I'm not going to go through exactly how to leave this tip because it's a little bit complicated, but you can upload a photo and you get a password. And the reason you have a password is you can have a two-way dialogue back and forth with the Anonymous Crime Stoppers program, and we still don't know who you are. And you can do everything that I'm showing you there online from that Leave a Tip tab on Facebook. You can do it right from your smartphone via text message or via an app. So if you train the kids and the people in your community that exists and they're afraid to come forward for whatever reason it is, and teach them that if you're so afraid you can't do what you really should do, which is go tell somebody who can do something about it, which might be your friend, might be your teacher, it might be the school principal, vice principal, it might be a police officer, it might be your parents. If you can't tell anybody because it's such a bad thing and you're so scared, you can anonymously submit it here, and somebody's going to catch it that's going to get into a police officer's hands that's going to have those relationships out in the community to go and help stop the situation. Now, I can tell you that we've saved people's lives right here in Mississauga, right here in Toronto, because we've got tips like this. And I'm going to actually go into some a little bit of an online thing here. I want to leave you with some reference if you buy into what I'm saying. So what I usually do, if I get here on time, I would actually set up my webcam and live stream this so everybody in the room knows we're live streaming and give you the link at the end. So I didn't have time to do that right now. So this is one that I did a week ago today, and maybe it's best that this is the one I'll use for a reference here today because this actually has the lawyers talking and it has the cops talking. And this is on a blog and it's called successandsafety.com. This is Mr. Eric Rower. He's with Borden Ladner Gervais, and this is his partner, Melanie Warner. And Eric has written 4 books on he's an education law specialist, and he's an internet law specialist. And apparently he's told me that I'm quoted in all 4 books. But we have a long-standing relationship from afar that we both love what each other does. The crux to the matter of what these lawyers are saying and what the issue is the College of Teachers social media policy says that you shall not friend a student on social media. You can't become Facebook friends with a kid. Now, I've already kind of said the school board messed up on the tip line. I'm not really going to say that they messed up on this, but the lady that called me could read between the lines in the 2008 newspaper article. So read between the lines, because I can't stand up here and bash anybody, because people are out there trying to do the right things for the right reasons. It's just that they haven't really got this whole social media concept and the concept of relationships and technology. They've never really kind of got it into their heads. And today, if we can get it into people's heads, we can save lives together. This lawyer will empower you to do that. What he will tell you is that he's not prepared to tell every teacher out there to be friends with kids on Facebook, but he's definitely prepared to have the school safety hall monitor, the guidance counselor, the school social worker, the school administrator, to have a strategy in place with purpose and process in order to get the payoff and the potential. Which means he's prepared to allow people working in the school systems and in our social service systems and in our police world to be friends with people on social media. Now, I've been doing this for about 8 years before Facebook even started. I've been friends with kids in social media as a cop. And originally, people would look at me and say, Scott, nobody is going to become your friend because you're a cop. And so what we have is a lot of other people out there with that mentality, and when they have that mentality, they think that it's us against them. So it's like this all the time, right? It needs to be like this. You get a lot more with honey than you do by doing this. So I am never undercover out there. I'm always me. I'm always a cop. I'm in uniform. Sometimes I'm in plain clothes, but I'm always a cop, and it's always clearly stated. In fact, it's actually against the terms of use of sites like Facebook to actually go out there with a fake account. And Toronto police officers, if you are out there with a fake account, if you're doing things right, you're supposed to be trained specially for undercover operative work in order to do that. So if you do get evidence out there on Facebook with a fake account as a cop, and you know that you're not supposed to do that, the first question out of a lawyer's mouth when you get to court is, did you know you weren't supposed to do that? Yes. Where's your credibility now? You just broke the rules knowingly. So to me, the only answer is actually using relationships and technology. And the whole undercover police work is taking on a whole different meaning. Because I could stand here right now, and I'm not going to do this. I could take my phone and go like this, with all of your faces looking at me, and I don't know who you are, post it on Facebook, or post it on Google+, and potentially facial recognition software will kick in, and it'll identify your face to your name based on your social media presence without you even knowing it. So if you've gone to a wedding of late and been in the background when somebody's taking a picture, guess what? You don't really have control over it. You're up there. And if you haven't gone in to set your privacy settings right and turned off facial recognition on, say, Google+, it's going to happen to you, right? And that's where a lot of kids are, and that's where a lot of people are actually, say for the Vancouver riots, a lot of people were identified for looting and committing vandalism because of that. The G20, I'm the guy behind the wheel of Toronto Police, Twitter and Facebook, and all the social media at G20. One of two, Tim Burrows and myself. So I'm going to bring that to the point of, well, what if somebody says something bad about you in social media? Well, guess what? I've been called every name there is. And so there's a process that a professor named Arthur Lockhart actually told me one day. They said about, I do graffiti work. I don't go out and paint over graffiti. I actually give kids paint so they can go and do graffiti. Because I had kids actually that live in Mississauga reach out to me on YouTube and say, I know you're a cop, but I want to come down for an opportunity. Now they're on big stages around the world talking about things like community building using their graffiti art, helping homeless get homes using their graffiti art, helping Crime Stoppers prevent and solve crimes using graffiti art. And guess what they're not doing in your community? Going under the bridge, because they used to be called the Tribal Bridges Crew, and doing damage to your community. And you didn't even know that had stopped. So it's, oh, it's not happening anymore. Well, these kids are engaged somewhere else. They're down doing something good with it. That process is called social alchemy, taking something bad and making it something good. And I didn't know that until I actually had a graffiti artist standing beside me, talking to a group of students like this, and the graffiti artist got up and said, well, my friend wanted me to go. I didn't want to know that. I didn't want to go. And then he bought us paint, and then he bought us lunch. And next thing you know, we were friends. And he had a weird mustache, but he was okay. And it's taking something negative to something bad. I want to tell you this quick story before I get into the slides so that you have some key take-home messaging. A lady by the name of Amber O'Hara, I first came to know as Wabnong Kwai, because that was her Facebook page. Amber's dead now. Amber's cousin, Carolyn Connolly, was killed in 2008 down at Parliament and Shooter Street area, Sherburne Street area, by Seton House. She was a lady that lived on the street off and on. She was a mother, a grandmother. She had been known to have some substance abuse issues. And somebody assaulted her one night. She cried out for help and screamed for 5 hours, and nobody came to her help. The next morning, somebody walking up the laneway stumbles across her body. That was Amber's cousin. Of course, the homicide squad gets the case and all that. They put it out. I do my social media appeal, all the blah, 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 blah. And on the Crime Stoppers for Toronto Facebook page, which is still the most engaged page out of 134 pages that I'm co-administrator on right now, so we have about 14,000 people that have liked it on there, Amber comes on and says, you guys suck. I'm leaving anonymous Crime Stoppers tips about who might have killed Carolyn, and nobody's getting back to me. I'm like, Crime Stoppers is anonymous. At least it used to be. You just posted on my Facebook wall that you're leaving anonymous tips. That's the first time since we've been using this that this lady had posted something like that, or anybody had posted anything and compromised her anonymity on one of my Facebook pages. And the whole reaction, knee-jerk reaction was, oh, remove it. Oh, my God, our anonymity's compromised. And, oh, she said that we suck. That's bad. Well, guess what? I did. I muted her comment, and I reached out to her, and I couldn't speak with her because I wasn't friends with her on Facebook. So I reached out, and I did some research, and I found another way to contact her. And I actually called her up on the phone, and I said, are you the lady that left that we suck on our Facebook page? She says, yes. I go, can I meet you? Am I in trouble? No. I just want to talk with you. We meet up. Amber is the lady that started missingNativeWomen.org. It's a website dedicated to chronicling missing and murdered Native women in all of Canada. Amber died of AIDS. I was one of 8 people that were notified when she died that she had died. She left through her trustees the database to that website and said, get it to Scott. Because we can make a difference to maybe put all that information she collected together with police investigations, rekindle things, use a success and safety model, and go out and actually find some answers for some of these families. And better yet, prevent something from what happened to Carolyn happening to anybody else. Because if they're too scared to call 911 for Carolyn, maybe they would know enough to say, anonymous tip, if I just put that anonymous tip in there, maybe the cops will come by and save that woman's life before she's dead. Is anybody up for that? So when I went to Amber's funeral, I walked in and looking around, I said, okay, I don't know if there's room here for a cop, I better sit at the back. So I sat at the back, and I'm pretty sure that one of the most vocal critics of Toronto police got up and did a speech. I'm not going to say who it was. It doesn't matter. I said, you know what? I'm going to get up and do a speech. You know why? Because I've just got impassioned to do this speech because when I signed the guest book at Amber's funeral, when I went in there, guess what she had sitting? She had planned her funeral very well. She'd even made her own casket. She painted it. So there she is laying there in all of her native attire, in her casket that she made, and when you sign the guest book, there's cards sitting there. And the cards said, if you know who killed Carolyn, call these 2 police officers at these 2 numbers. That's social alchemy. Now, if you keep that in mind, and you want to use social media for the good, this has the potential to save many lives and solve many cases based on one particular incident. And I want to run through these slides. Essentially what you have here, if you go to successandsafety.com, is me saying, yes, I'm talking as a cop with a lawyer. Here's the presentation slides that the lawyer and the cop put together. And when I went through Melanie's slides, I came to her and I rushed in. I was kind of late that day too, and I said, Melanie, just so you know, I'm going to tell everybody to be friends with kids on Facebook, and your slides say don't, not to. But Eric says it's okay as long as you do it with purpose and process, and he's not willing to let all teachers do it. But I said really down in his heart, deep down, I think he really wants to say what I say. But he has to eat. He has to pay his bills. The paradigm shift hasn't happened yet, and people haven't quite figured all this out. So what you have, if you want to listen to it, I didn't tell these stories I just told you now. I told a few other things, but there's Melanie and I talking about legal issues about using social media for success and safety. So you've got a practitioner talking with a lawyer, and when she speaks, she says things different than what her slides say. Because she spoke after me, and she saw this presentation, which we're going to end our little talk here on. This is going to take about 15 minutes, and I think I'm going to get somebody there shining up the 10-minute left sign, right? Social media for success and safety in schools. I never made that title, the lawyer did. Take the schools out. Social media for success and safety in our communities. Think global, act local. That's what that should say. The boundaries of the schools and the community, they exist, they still do, but our world is a global village now. And we need to think big and do what we can locally. If you want to know why I'm called Graffiti BMX Cop, those 2 slides do it. That's a BMX bike ramp at 75 Tandridge Crescent in Rexdale, an area where we have a lot of calls for gunshots. That's a kid. I don't need to tell you anything other than that kid's my friend, and I need to be his friend. He also needs to be my friend. He's got a bike provided by the City of Toronto Parks, Forestry and Recreation, a helmet that actually I bought him. He's sitting on a ramp, and that graffiti art is actually done at an event in Hamilton. by some of these graffiti artists that are reaching out to us. Down here, you've got a technology day where cops are actually going in thinking they're doing a great thing, giving all these kids all these desktops. Great old-fashioned desktops, just what every kid wants, right? And why I took that picture is because all the cops are standing in the corner over there in their uniforms like this, with nobody around them, and I'm sitting there with my MacBook laptop with all these kids, and the kids kind of doing this. I don't know if I want to look at this, but I think I like this. He's drinking the Kool-Aid for relationships and technology to save people's lives is what he's doing. So if you want to, that's my role, Toronto Police Service Corporate Communications, Social Media Officer. That's the Crime Stoppers International. If you're not used to social media, branding in social media means you take somebody's website, like csiworld.org, and you get the username on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and every other social media site that you can get a username, and you get it the same so that people don't get confused. So we're Toronto Police, and that's CSI World. If you want to hit me up, that Facebook profile at the top is full. You can't add any more on it because you can only have 5,000 people on a profile. So the best way to connect with me is on Graffiti BMX page if you want to connect with me directly. Graffiti BMX Cop on Twitter. These are my two most favorite YouTube accounts of 6 accounts that I have and 3,000 videos on YouTube. Toronto BMX and Legal Graffiti Art, because they celebrate success and safety. The only ROI that I can give you is coming up. As far as I'm concerned, you can't do a return on investment strategy on social media, but everybody out there will try. You got to do something, but everybody's searching for how to do it. You can't measure prevention, and you can't measure the effectiveness of a positive relationship. You can't. So what it comes down to is leadership, people's hearts buying in and saying this works. But I will give you one quantitative analysis coming up. Here's the key messages. Adult mentorship in real life must be continued into the cyber world with the purpose of preventing societal violence. I talked to 170 probation officers the other day, and they actually broke into applause when I got to that second line here. The first line is there's a paradigm shift from legal liability model to policy-driven relationship and technology approach is essential for community safety. What that says is, my humble opinion, is that if you're not doing strategies like this out there, and you get a kid that commits suicide, or you have all the writing on the wall about something like Danzig shooting, and you don't see it as the cops and actually put police patrols out to do gun checks and stuff like that to stop it from happening, you're going to be held legally liable. Right now it's, oh, don't friend kids on social media, or don't get involved there. Well, that's the paradigm shift. And that's what that's all about. Stop blocking social media. I nearly lost my mind when I'm talking to 170 probation officers last week, and they told me that all these videos I'm putting out where I've got all these homicide cops talking about what happened to a lot of their kids that they're involved with, can't even watch the videos because they got YouTube blocked in their office at the Ontario government level. Hello? Hello? The world operates on social media. Start community building and preventing violence. Relationships and trust between adults and youth are key to the prevention of things like bullying, gangs, suicide, threatening bodily harm and death, sexting, online intimidation, terrorism, and mass shootings. Who's adults? Who are we talking about here? It includes parents, teachers, school administrators, police officers, probation officers, social workers, justice system workers, correctional staff, you and me. Whatever the role is, play it. If you got a kid that's your nephew that's living in United Kingdom and you think they're going off the rails, you're it. And social media is the connector to do that. Social media is the vehicle for sustainable connected relationships that create trust, which fosters the reporting of concerns of violence to be dealt with by authorities before a mass shooting, before a bombing, before bullying, before gang involvement even starts, and before somebody commits suicide. Here's the only ROI quantitative piece of data that I can give you. And the story is this. After I left Peel Police, I went to Toronto. I worked in the western downtown part. I was a year out on the road. I thought I'd lost my mind. It's a completely different place to be a police officer. Completely. The pace was astronomical. The shift was nuts. I felt like I was never home. I'm like, I want to come back to Peel. Sometimes I still say that. After working that, and then end up doing a whole bunch of gang work and school work and things like that, I got told I was going to work in the Community Crime Stoppers programs because they had thrown away their 4 officers. Said, schools won't even let you in. You got handcuffs on your logo. You guys aren't effective. You're gone. The Community Crime Stoppers board said, well, we need to engage our program. We need to do our PowerPoint presentation. We need officers. So the chief buckled and said, you can have 1 officer. I got told to be that officer. I started going school to school, parent group to parent group, community group to community group, sometimes doing 8 presentations in one day, all over the city. I've now been all over the world. And I can tell you, in a two-year period, with 1/4 of the staff, our Toronto Crime Stoppers tips went from 300 a month to 1,000 a month. And a lot of those tips involved prevention. And that's not all the fluff. People will go, is it some of it, some of the, you get, BS tips? Yes. Those are the ones that were actually actioned. That's a lot of tips. That's the world leader in Crime Stoppers tips right there. I think Crime Stoppers is key. And that's the first Crime Stoppers Facebook page in Toronto there. If you leave this room and you're like, okay, I bought what that guy was saying, I need to do something, but I can't convince my boss. Tell your boss that in November 2008, Ronald Noble, who's this man right here, traveled from New York City to Johannesburg, South Africa to the Interpol Fugitive Conference to watch me talk for 90 minutes. There's 189 countries there. They gave everybody else 20 minutes, they gave me 90 minutes. Apparently it was set up by this guy and his staff. He flew in, he saw it, he grilled me like no tomorrow. And afterwards, he issued an international statement that the police worldwide need to use global tools like social media to track fugitives. And I threw all these stories in and everything else about saving lives and prevention and stuff like that. He just wanted to track fugitives. I'm like, okay, step at a time. Yep, you can track fugitives with this stuff, but you can save lives with this stuff, and here's how you do it. This is the largest high school in Canada. This is an example of Dave Bradley, who's a school safety hall monitor. He does not fall under the parameters of the College of Teachers rules and regulations. He's in the school every day. His job's to keep it safe. At the time when I made this presentation, he had stopped 5 teen suicides in about 2 years. He's been doing this now for about 5 years. He's stopped 15 kids from committing suicide because he's seen what they posted on Facebook and knew the kids and knew the situations and was able to act in a timely way and do the interventions and save people's lives. That's what his Facebook page looks like. You'll say, what does this guy post? Well, he's got about 3,000 friends, and he posts things like, it's raining today, bring an umbrella. That's the social alchemy. There's some examples in there. The 2 graffiti artists I was talking about, one from Mississauga, is Kedre Brown. He's Bub's Art on Twitter, and Jesse Pacho, he's Art of Fade on Twitter. There's another guy named Jason Tajero on Facebook, an absolutely great mentor for BMX. And Nicholas Maharaj at Twitnik is a great kid to follow for crime victim issues. I can stand here before you and tell you that at a university campus here in Toronto, we stopped a mass Virginia textile school shooting because somebody sitting in an audience like you one day, a week after I'd done the presentation, reached out to me on Facebook and said, somebody who's friends with me on Facebook is saying that they're going to this university campus to kill all the Jews. They're posting a picture of a gun. They've just been fired as their job as a security guard at a Jewish community center, and I think they're going postal and they're going to do it. Does this sound familiar? This is what we read about and see about after the fact. We're reading about it and seeing it before the fact, and what we're doing is actually capturing the information, doing a quick investigation, sending officers to the guy's house. Officers said, oh my goodness, this guy was going to do this, arrest. I feel better at night knowing that that didn't happen. And we can't do this alone. The cops can't do this type of stuff alone. I skipped to the back of the presentation by accident there. Just give me 1 second, we'll get right to where we're at. That's the mass shooting. This is an emergency management. One of the reasons why I'm late all the time is if we get some type of major incident at a school, the one that's right here is a shooting inside a school. We're controlling the information as to official source and what's going out from Toronto Police using our official Toronto Police Twitter account, which comes through on the website on the social feed right under that YouTube video I showed you. So I will get a pin saying we have an emergency situation. It could be anything. And we're starting to actually control the scene from here. Say follow hashtag, which is, in this case, it's #CT gun for updates from the scene. And you just keep updating. And what it creates is a common hailing frequency. It's like a ham radio on crack. Within about half an hour, that hashtag is trending, sometimes worldwide, when we have an incident. But you can see what everybody's saying, including kids that are locked in the school. And you're able to communicate with parents who are really concerned about going to get their kids and all this type of stuff. And I can tell you, this is a true story. Maybe I shouldn't tell it, but G20, when our cars were on fire, I was actually in my living room because I wasn't on shift yet. And I woke up because I've been up all night. I was working on the night shift. And I looked on the TV, and I saw our cars were burning, and I'm like, yikes. And I tweeted, the Toronto Police are coordinating a response. And I was watching Ann Romer on CP24 at the time. And 30 seconds later, she says, the Toronto Police are coordinating a response. I'm like, oh my gosh, I better call somebody and see what they're doing. It works. So that's a true story. My wife has a picture of me in my underwear doing it. Anyway, I want to leave you with two last things here. We have come a long way since that time, but we still are not where we need to go. And when I say that, I say about law enforcement in its totality, wherever you are. If I hear one more time Toronto Police are leaders in social media, I'm going to crawl under my desk. If we're leaders, the followers are pretty darn bad. But having said that, we're in the water and we're trying. We have 280 officers trained. They have a Facebook profile. They have a Twitter account. They're allowed to tweet. The rules are, don't be stupid. Easy. Okay? Same rules as apply when you wear your uniform, put a gun on, and go out in the street. Don't be stupid. Same applies in social media. Follow the rules of the road. And it's very easy. This is a very true story. This is very real. I'm going to leave you with this, and then I'm hopefully going to inspire you with my last slide, because this one's going to make you cry. I was down in California at one of these social media internet law enforcement conferences, and I met Darcy Tierney, who does the same thing I do down there. She's for the Omaha, Nebraska Police. 2 weeks before, her colleague's son left a suicide note on Facebook after he was kicked out of school for a minor thing. Went home, got his dad's service revolver, stole his dad's car, came back to the school, shot and killed the vice principal, wounded the principal, got in the car, drove to a wooded area, killed himself. And I'm going to show you his picture. I'm going to read what he wrote. And I want you to think, could we have prevented this from happening if we had a relationships and technology strategy? Because this young man looks like any one of our kids and shouldn't have done what he did and should be alive today. And we could stop it if we put our collective heads together and stop blocking social media and think about relationships and technology. He posted, everybody that used to know me, I'm sorry, but Omaha changed me and screwed me up, and the school I attend is even worse. You're going to hear about the evil I did, but that school drove me to this. I want you guys to remember for who I was before I greatly affected the lives of the families ruined. I'm sorry, goodbye. Do you think if Dave Bradley's school safety hall monitor saw that he would have acted on it? We might have stopped it? Yep. You think some uncle, aunt, concerned neighbor, friend, anybody, maybe it was another kid that kind of knew what was going on and was so scared and actually said, I got to leave one of those tips on that leave a tip tab right now. Like this is going south real fast. Maybe I got to text it. Right? Stop taking these kids' phones away. It's our best source to get information to save their lives. Communication. Don't take a communication tool away. Give us communication tools. I carry 2 phones. Right? That's a Samsung Galaxy 2, that's a BlackBerry. Whether it's an iPhone, doesn't matter. You need a phone. You need to be connected to do this stuff because it happens fast. Here's another one. This is in the news yesterday. Did you hear about it? Congresswoman Gifford. Everybody knows about it because her She's a congresswoman and her husband's an astronaut. But what you don't know is that 14 citizens were wounded and 6 were dead. You never hear about those 14 wounded and the 6 that were dead. And within hours of that happening, I went on Mashable, which is the online social media Bible. It's kind of like the Globe and Mail of the social media world. And they had a whole guide to social media for that shooting. All the warning signs were there. I started looking at it with a relationships and technology focus in the eyes of a cop. Those are the people that were killed that day. They look like every single one of us. And within seconds, I found this video, and there's no need to play it, but the message of what's in that video is that is the suspect, the guy that did this in this video. And if any of us, as a parent, as a teacher, as a cop, as a neighbor, as a friend, as a relative, saw and knew what was going on in that video way back when, years before, when that guy posted it when he was a high school student, maybe we could have got him onto the right path to do this. And I've had success with this. I've taken the guy that's scaring everybody in the school. They think he's going to do a school shooting. And I've reached out, engaged him into relationships. And we're talking about a gun nut here. Probably the scariest kid I've ever dealt with. And to this day, he's graduated about 5 years ago. He's also gone through university. To this day, he still comes back and volunteers with us. That's success and safety. And if the guy that did this was engaged, one of the ways that we caught on to that one kid in my personal experience is because of what he's posting online, because the teacher and the principal couldn't put it right on the button to have the evidence to go to mom and dad and say, we really need help here. And when we did finally find it online, by talking to the kid and going through his online usage, and we captured it, we went to the mom and dad, what'd they say? Thank goodness you guys came to us, because we're seeing the same thing, we don't know what to do. And that's what it's all about. It's just an increased communication tool. So here's what we can do. I got about 5 minutes left here at most. We need to make social media policy a top priority because the world is working on this right now. The world is working on this. We need a massive education and training strategy, and it can be accomplished with hope, vision, and action. And if you're sitting there and you're saying, I can't even talk this guy's language, I don't even know where to begin, I want to empower you with this man's story, Bill Bond. This is the last story I'm going to tell. Bill Bond came and had to listen to me talk for 3 hours, the poor guy. And Bill Bond walked out of the room, and I was sitting there afterwards on my computer finishing up some stuff. I'm by myself. He walks in. He's a grown man, and he's crying. This is the president of the United States Principals Association, who in 1997 had 3 kids killed, shot and killed in his school before his eyes. And he decided that he was going to make it his life work to make sure this never happened again. He lectures all over the United States, and he comes up to me and he says these words, "We are losing a generation of our youth. I have to quit because I am no longer effective." Crying. And I said, "Bill, do you have like a half an hour? Can you sit down with me?" I said, "I'll help you." I said, "I'll set you up with a Twitter account. I'll set you up with a Facebook profile. I'll hook you up where a bunch of other people are using this for a positive purpose, doing all this type of stuff, and you can just slowly learn." He said, "My wife's going to kill me." I said, "Well, I know that feeling. Gone through that a few times." And so he said, he sat down and he did it. And after we were done, he had a whole different demeanor. He had his smile back on his face. His giddy up was back. His inspiration was back. And he said, "I don't even have to change one slide of my presentation." I go, "You're right, Bill. You're the bomb. You're the guy that lived this. You're the one that's passionate about it. You're the one that's got the role and the mandate." He says, "I just have to ask people to be my friend in social media at the end." That's all you got to do. You just have to play your role in real life and ask people to be your friend at the end. So if it's about connecting, whether it's on email, phone, in person, in a coffee shop, wherever, connect with people. The best way to connect with me is to text that cell number, 647-449-2801, or email me at the Gmail, which is SCOTMILLS. It's not 2 T's on Scott. If you send it to 2 T's, there's a guy in Arizona that absolutely hates my guts. Okay? But that will come to both of these phones on that scottmills@gmail.com, and if you put something in the subject line that grabs my attention, and you have some you think it might be a stupid little question, but if it's urgent, and there's something that you think that I can do or any of one of my teammates in Toronto or worldwide can do to help you save somebody's life, I don't care if it's the middle of the night. If you have to make that phone ring in the middle of the night, make it ring. Because I would rather have that kid that you just saw in there alive the next day than dead. Does anybody have questions? Yes?
You mentioned there's a social media policy if not don't use it. Do you guys actually have a policy, or do you have advice, or can you direct us to the influencers from using social media policy?
Yeah, we do have a policy in place. The person that I report to for it is Megan Gray. She's at our corporate communications, so if you want to get in touch with me, I'll get you in touch with her. She can get you what we have. My personal favorite person for strategy and policy is Lori Stevens. She's the one who actually came in and did a consult with ours. She's in Boston. She's LawsCom on Twitter, and her and I are closely connected. She actually built what she was kind of envisioned based on this whole thing that I'm showing you here. So she's very helpful. Anybody else? And, yeah? We have at Toronto Police, we train our officers on a 3-day course, which we've just canceled the next 2 because we're trying to rejig it because it's all new. And what we were finding was that out of the 280 officers that are there, there's probably about 50 or 60 that leave the course and are actually effectively using it. And so we're wasting our time. If you don't want to do it, or you're not interested to do it, or you don't know how and you're not interested in learning, we don't need to waste our time training you. And you shouldn't be penalized for not being interested. This is a generational thing. But so what we're doing now is if you're an officer and you have a purpose and a process that you want to do this for, you write it out, kind of in a business plan type thing. You submit it to our corporate communications issues manager, Megan Gray. She assesses it and then assigns people to go out and do individual training. And what we're finding, what we're hoping is that works a little more effectively so that we get kind of quality over quantity. So just food for thought. Good attitude, willingness to learn is of paramount importance if you're going to train people. Yes? On your page, send me an email to the Gmail account. Tell me you want to install it. You would make me on Facebook, on this profile, you would add me as an admin. Just give me, is there any way to type on this or no? Yep, maybe, hang on here. I'm just going facebook.com/social media, TPS social media. That's my profile. If you add me as a friend on that, you'd have to make me an admin of the page for 10 minutes, and I install the app, and then I take myself off as an admin, and you're away to the races. It's as simple as that. Yep.
I don't know if this is an easy question, but I'm just wondering how you, like I work for an organization that's really about social media, and I've just become very texting with the young people that I work with. So how do I get people that I work with on board to just connect with how you connect with you that you work with?
Yeah, I just went through this with the Assistant Deputy Minister of Child and Youth Services, Joanne Miller-Reed. I think that's her name. We had lunch together the other day. All these probation officers were at the same kind of crux in the road of all the officers, probation officers said, we need to be able to text our clients so that we can keep in contact. I said, well, that's a no-brainer. Well, they won't let us do it. I was like, oh my gosh. So how do you convince somebody? The only way that I can tell you to convince somebody is if you buy something like this and you know there's a reference out there like that video of the lawyer and of like that presentation we just went through with the paradigm shift and what lawyers are saying. Show them the slide of the kid and say, here's the potential. It's just a big question of educating people, because once people see this, they start to say, they stop saying, no, we'll never do it. They start changing their mindset into, how are we going to do this? And that's why I throw those slides in there about the Interpol guy and stuff like that. It's not to tell you I got a great trip to Johannesburg, South Africa. It's to tell you that that guy bought it, and that's the top cop in the world. So what are we waiting for? And when I show you that Crime Stoppers stuff, it's hard to get a world to get along. You know, like as far, my whole vision for that whole success and safety, I'm the Crime Stoppers International Social Media Officer. That's a volunteer position for a volunteer organization. As far as I'm concerned, the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world, the Twitters of the world need to pony up and say, we need an international social media success and safety center where we can actually have social services, law enforcement, and the community all engaged at once. And when some kid decides that they're going to put on their Tumblr account in United Kingdom that, hi, I'm 10 years old and I'm going to kill myself, and some 14-year-old that's sitting in Mississauga sees it and then tells her mom, and her mom decides to call the cops, and the cops go, huh? That's a problem. Houston, we have a problem. So we need somewhere where we can actually network that. So we're starting. I could actually power this thing up right now and have police officers from 7 countries online with me in 5 minutes. But it's all because of relationships that I have with these guys. So we have to take what's in individual officers' repertoires, and we need to make it into policy. And it's not just officers, it's community, it's everybody needs to do it. Whether you're selling a soft drink out there, or whether you're in the business of saving people's lives, we need to do it. We also have privacy issues. If, say there's a youth that's charged with an offense, and they're under 18 years of old, and they come into the confines of the Youth Criminal Justice Act, can't publish their name. Well, if that kid has their charges withdrawn and then gets probation and has to come out and do community work doing graffiti with me, how do I put him on social media? Well, guess what? There's a real easy way to do it. I don't need to say the kid's on probation. Stop calling kids at risk. We're all at risk. Call them at promise kids. Somebody's clapping for that. Amen. Like if I hear one more thing out there saying, oh, we're doing something for at-risk kids, will you get lost? We're doing something for our kids. Stop labeling people as at-risk and start just saying that we're all in it as one. We all know the back end. The kid's on probation because he got caught doing graffiti vandalism, and now he's out doing graffiti art. Big deal. The world doesn't need to know that. We're going to celebrate his success, and we're going to promote safety by doing it. So again, it takes leadership. Anybody else? Did I offend everybody? I usually do. I really don't care anymore. Thanks a lot.